And welcome back to the Texas only challenge here on Madden 23, where we've reached our first off season. Season 1 didn't go too well. We finished 4-13 at the bottom of the AFC South. A lot of work to do, but there are definitely some promising players that we've seen. Some players have been a little bit of a letdown, but we'll talk about that as we go. I first want to start off with the Pro Bowl roster, see if any of our guys made it. So we'll start at the top. Quarterbacks for the NFC, Brady, Mahomes, and Prescott, with the AFC being Tua, Burrow, and Garoppolo. Kind of interesting. You normally don't see any 70 overall quarterbacks. I should say 70s overall quarterbacks. Running backs, we have Elliott, McCaffrey, and Patterson for the NFC, and AFC Chubb, Henry, and Jacobs. Still no one so far. Fullbacks, Juszczyk and Gilliam. Aloni Lua, maybe, is how it's pronounced. In Ingold. I do really well with names on this channel. Receivers, Hopkins, Evans, Cooks, St. Brown, and Davis, as well as Cobb. At the AFC side, Cooper, Moore, Allen, Kupp, Waddle, and Ayuk, so still no one for us. Tight ends, Pitts, Tremble, and Fant, Bellinger, Kittle, and Hurst. Left tackles is Thomas and Smith, Williams and Tunsil. Left guard, Batonio, Dickerson, Nelson, and Tooney. Centers will be Ragnow, Humphrey, Jensen, and Kelsey. Right guards, Martin, Onwenu, Lindstrom, and Kappa. Right tackles, Ramczyk, Wirfs, Johnson, and Conklin. So no one on offense for us. Pretty unfortunate. A former member of our team, though, does make it for the NFC, Von Miller. Being a 95 overall, pretty much a sure lock. Lawrence, also one of the NFC left ends. AFC had Jordan and Clowney. Right ends, Hendrickson and Lawson, Hayward and Bosa. DTs, Jones, Bucker, and Armstead. Vita, Vea, Lawrence, and Clark. Left ends, Watt and Judon, Gary and Allen. Middle linebackers are Baker, Roquan Smith, Perryman, and Long Jr. With the right ends, and I see one of ours, Parson, Davis Gaithers, Greenlaw, and Terrell. Honestly, I haven't looked it up. Probably should. One of those, Bernard, our rookie linebacker, made it. And typically, the linebackers are edge rushers, so it's really promising to see him make it. Hopefully, that means another development boost. That would be nice. Cornerbacks, Fuller, Hull, Lattimore, Jackson, Hayward, Awuzie, White, and McDuffie. With the safeties being Davis, Adderley, Neal, and Smith, and Hill, Fitzpatrick, Rapp, and Harrison Jr. Our kicker made it, Justin Tucker, McLaughlin, the other one, Way and Anger are the punters, with the returners being Hargreaves, Sherfield, Penny, and Moore. So we had two, our kicker and our linebacker in Bernard. Besides those two, no one towards the top. We'll see if maybe Bernard won Defensive Rookie of the Year as well. That would be fantastic. And speaking of yearly awards, let's run through those, with Dak Prescott being the league MVP. Coach of the Year goes to Brian Daboll. Daboll? Honestly, don't know. For the AFC, Offensive Player of the Year goes to Chris Godwin. Defensive Rookie of the Year, Cameron Hayward. Offensive Rookie is Chris Olave. And Bernard did not win Defensive Rookie of the Year. That goes to Aiden Hutchinson. Bernard was second. So that may be keeping him out of actually getting that further development up to a superstar. We'll take a look at the end of the season. We also had Kader Kohu at 5th and Tariq Woolen at 7th. Best quarterback went to Lamar Jackson. Best running back, Nick Chubb. Aaron Jones was down at 8th. Best receiver, Chris Godwin. Cortland Sutton, for us, down at 5. Devin Duvernay at 6. Best O-line was Chris Lindstrom. Best D-line, Cameron Hayward. And best linebacker goes to Rashawn Gary. But as a rookie and not an edge rusher, Bernard being down at 7 still is major props. Best DB goes to Casey Hayward Jr. Donovan Wilson, who I admit I was wrong about last episode. I just talked about how I really didn't see him doing much. He was the 5th best defensive back for the AFC. And best kicker is Justin Tucker, so we at least win one of these. Had several other guys in the running, which just shows this team has a lot of potential. We just need to flush the rest of it out. And the season ends with a Green Bay Packers victory in the Super Bowl. Don't know how I feel about that. Against the Jets, 31-24. Jacoby Brissett won the Super Bowl MVP. What is it about Jacoby Brissett that every single franchise... Dude is amazing. I don't get it. It is what it is, but I just don't get it. And after checking, Bernard does not go up to a superstar. He stays a star. The only person above a star on the team is Aaron Jones, a superstar. We do not have any X factors. Hopefully that'll change. But for now, just Jones. I was really hoping Bernard would get it. And actually is Justin Tucker is a superstar. So technically we have two. And at the top of the list here, we see that we had two players retire. Colt McCoy, we probably weren't going to bring him back this year. He calls it quits after 13 years. And one of our backup linemen in Ty Nsekhe also retires. So we're down 2 backup spots. But now the real off-season work can begin. And we have, I believe, 24 players we need to negotiate with to try to bring back. We have 117 mil in cap space. And I already see 2 starting offensive linemen for us. A lot of these guys are probably going to have low interest. I will jot their names down and we'll attempt to re-sign them in open free agency because most of the time they really don't want to come back in the closed free agency. But let's start here with Terrence Steele, 80 overall, 26 years old. And we will offer a 4-year deal, 4.5 salary, 4 for bonus, so 8.5 mil a season. I think that would be a pretty solid offer, and he likes it, so he's back. Now, Kiki QT really didn't have much of a chance of getting out on the field last season, and I don't presume he will this next season. He still might come back, but I'm not going to re-sign him now. Jalen Guyton, kind of a similar spot. He did come out occasionally, but I kind of want to see what is all available in open free agency. These 2 guys might still come back. DJ Hayden has regressed to less than a 70 overall, so not looking to bring him back. We just brought him back to kind of fill a role after we traded away one of our starting corners. He did well for us, not looking to bring him back. Now, Logan Hall, I definitely want to bring back, and he does have interest. He was a rookie last year, so I want to keep him around. We'll give him a decent amount of money here to hopefully try to keep him around. We'll go with 4 years, about, what would that be? Adding that up, 4 mil a season. I think that would be pretty solid. And he's happy to stay with the team. So far, all the negotiations working out pretty well. And we talked about Eric at the end of last episode. He doesn't have a whole lot of interest, but I want to give him a shot at being one of our starting guys out there, at least in the rotation. So I'm going to offer him a little bit here. It's pretty cheap, but he's only a 65 overall, and he will stay with the organization as well, so that works out well. And we'll wrap out the offers here by trying to offer Jake Matthews. You're going to notice most of these offers that I'm sending out are 4-year deals, but with Matthews being 31, I do want to lower this. Let's make it a 2-year deal. We'll bump it up a little bit because I'm pretty sure he was still the best overall that we could have at this spot. So we'll make an offer here. He wants to test free agency. We're still going to try to bring him back, as well as a majority of the guys on this list. Just most of them don't have very high overall or interest, like Dixon. Most of these guys are low, or I just didn't really want to bring them back. And here is our first round of open free agency. Jake Matthews really has next to no, I think it's honestly negative interest in coming back. So we have had to throw all the money at him. I think it's about $22.5 million a year for 3 years. But it would be a steep drop off to the next best guy available that is around the 71 or 70 overall. So we're going to throw the money at Matthews. Hopefully he comes back. If not, we'll have to figure out something. We're trying to bring back our punter in Dixon. I did find Isaiah Spiller. He's a second-year player. Last year was a rookie, 75 overall, has some very interesting ratings, a very balanced running back. Not sure what we're going to do with Aaron Jones so far. I think we have a lot of picks, so it's not worth trading him for picks, but if we have to trade for a starting offensive lineman, Jones could really help us out. I am offering Swaim. He's the highest rated tight end. We didn't bring any of our original tight ends back, so we're going to offer Swaim. We'll offer some of the other ones down the line. And Kyle Allen out of Houston will be a backup quarterback that at least we could sign for sure, possibly here. And if we don't get the quarterback in the draft class, no problem. We at least still have a backup. So that's what we're going to run with as we go with the first evaluations. And it looks like all but one signed. Don't know if that's with us or not as we jump over to my signings. Matthews does return. He took the $22.5 million over going to a team he probably would have enjoyed playing for more. Wow. So Matthews returns, Dixon returns. We get Isaiah Spiller. We're good at running back for sure now. And we have a backup quarterback. So that leaves Swaim. No other offers remain. So let's just keep evaluating and hopefully he'll end up signing. Not with the second round. What about the third round? No. So we'll move on to the next week and hopefully he and some other tight ends join us. And in the second round of open free agency, primarily looking for backup depth at this point. So that's what most of these guys are going to see. Beecham Jr. would be depth. Kiki QT we tried to bring back. I did find Danny Gray. He has some pretty good speed. Not sure how many receivers we're actually going to carry, but if we could get younger, I'm always happy with that. Trying to bring back Beck at fullback, Guyton, Darden as well, Effetti as a backup, Seals Jones we're offering. Did find Tyrell Dodson. I don't think he was on the team last year, but we need some help at linebacker. I honestly don't know if he has very much, if any sort of zone coverage. 57, not really. Well, it fits with the majority of our linebackers. We need some depth at that spot, so could at least offer it. He does also have an offer from the Ravens, so he might not come. And the last one is another tight end in Grant Calcaterra. Also has another offer, this one from the Falcons. He may join, might not, no problem. I don't think any of our other ones are really has any competitive bids. I think we're in first for most of these guys. So we'll evaluate, see who comes, see who doesn't. And again, everyone but one person has decided where they're going. So let's see here. We know, okay, Beecham joins, QT joins or rejoins. Danny Gray's coming in, Guyton returns, Darden also comes back. Effetti joins, Seals Jones is back. Swaim did come back, and that was after we simmed weeks. And Allen. So I feel like we missed out on a tight end and maybe one or two other people. But for the most part, I think we got all the big ones. We'll go through the evaluations once again with Beck, see if he finally joins. One more. Not on the list. Does Beck come back? Yes, he does. So most of the guys that we let go, we're bringing back. And for the last and final round of open free agency, looking for bottom of the roster, basically battle for that final spot kind of guys. Malcolm Brown is going to be more of a DT. Henry Black at safety. David Aneni is an edge rusher, so would get moved to left or right end. Bradley King, but basically those two would compete for that same spot. Malik Jefferson, backup linebacker, same as Wallow and Stewart. Both of those two were on the team last year. Armani Watts, more backup safety, and Ardarius Washington, another backup safety who was on the team last year, is much younger than some of the other backup safeties. So that is all the offers we're going to put out. If they join, great. If they don't, that's fine. And it actually looks like basically all of them make their final decision. So this is what our free agency class looks like for the end of season 1. Jake Matthews, Michael Dixon, Isaiah Spiller, Kelvin Beecham Jr., Kiki QT, Danny Gray, Andrew Beck, Jalen Guyton, Jalen Darden, Jermaine Effetti, Malcolm Brown, Henry Black, Ricky Seals Jones, Jeff Swaim, David Aneni, William Bradley King, Malik Jefferson, Garrett Wallow, Grant Stewart, Armani Watts, Kyle Allen, and Ardarius Washington. No real splashy guy. The highest overall that we picked up was someone who was already on the team, and that is Jake Matthews. We need to make sure we continue to have the highest overall offensive line that we can. So overall, I think this was solid. And before we can start talking about the draft, we still have to finish up a little bit of scouting with our last focused scouting. Craig Richards, the quarterback we are going to select, just because I would like to find out what his actual talent grade is. I could see him going as early as 3, depends on the last few ratings. He's a strict pocket passer at 6'6", 234, wouldn't expect anything else. At corner, we have one last remaining round 1 to 2 guy that we don't know the last 5%, which is that talent grade. The top 2 we do know are solid round 1 guys. Christian Drummond has actually moved up from a projected round 1 to 2 to a actual round 1. So I'm assuming we're going to go corner first. That linebacker we know isn't great in coverage, but we still need help at linebacker. So Daniel Mathis is a round 1. He did go down to a projected round 2 to 3, but we still know he actually is a round 1. And we have one last spot, so I'm just going to throw it on Andrew Ali. He has some decent ratings just from a quick look with A to C ball carrier vision, B to D break tackle, B carrying. Seems like it could be intriguing, so we'll just take a further look at him. We'll confirm those 3. And after going to the next week, we didn't get any more information on Craig Richards, so a bit unfortunate there, but let's talk about him. He's an interesting guy. So he abandons his initial reads for the check down, but he has a nice spiral, has an elongated motion but a quick release. He does well to avoid sacks by throwing the ball away, but he gets rid of the ball at the first sign of pressure, and a vast majority of his success comes from inside the pocket, which we all expected. Like I said, he is 6'6". He runs a 5+ 40. So like I said, there is not much speed there at all, but elite strength, elite throw power. So it's interesting. With B, deep and short accuracy, A to C, medium, I still think he could very well be a good developmental quarterback. Definitely has some things he needs to develop. I mean, D awareness is really not good, specifically when it comes to simming. So Craig Richards, not going to take over for Tannehill, but could be a solid depth, someone that we could try to develop. I would like to bring him in. I was just really hoping we would find out what his talent grade was, so we know if we need to take a third, maybe even a second on him. Kind of hard to tell. But we do get 90% completion on Andrew Ali, the running back. Don't know why we couldn't get that with the quarterback, but he is a power back, shows good ball security at times, but needs to improve. Needs to work on simple concentration drops, not going to look to throw to him all too often. Fights for every single inch, which is really important. Avoids big hits, following catches, and excels at creating yards after the catch. So some really good traits there, with a decent amount of speed for a power back as well, with a good broad jump. Okay, 3 cone, not very good 20-yard shuttle. The skills: A, ball carrier vision, B, break tackle, B, carrying with A, trucking. That all looks really intriguing. A day 3 pick I wouldn't mind spending. Now, one area that I would like to get better at is at tight end. Now, there's no one here who is a do-it-all besides maybe Nick Cousins, and that's at least at a quick overview. He is 6'4", 247, 23 years old out of Texas Tech. Needs to work on concentration drops, which is concerning. Exceptional body control on the sideline, though. That's nice. Fights for every yard as a runner. No issues climbing the ladder, so he can jump up, which is good. Avoids big hits following the catch. Excels in creating yards after the catch, and shows good discipline. So there's some good traits. There's some bad traits. 40-yard is, I mean, it's okay. I mean, nothing spectacular, but I've seen worse. In terms of his rating, B catching, B run block. That's about as balanced as you're going to get, with a lot of range that we're not quite sure on. But we do know that he has C medium route running and C short. So there's at least some decent ratings there. I don't expect he would be super highly rated, but probably about on par, maybe a little bit lower than what we currently have. The other guys are just, they're missing something. So like Darrell Blackwell, he's not a run blocker whatsoever. I don't want that. Steve Ferguson, has the run block potential, but has F deep route running. So I expect he'd be more of a blocker, as he's also a blocking archetype. So I think Nick Cousins would probably be the most balanced. The offensive line, no one in particular stands out. Everyone is basically a one-hit wonder. No one can do two things at least an okay level, which was really unfortunate. D-line, kind of the same thing, but I think honestly even at a lesser level, besides DT, you have some potential here with like Cam Massey with B to D block shed and B finesse moves. Brennan Belfort is strictly a possible finesse rusher with A to C. And then Donnell Moore, B finesse moves, could have up to C power moves, though he's strictly a pass rusher. And then like I mentioned, Daniel Mathis, a guy who we're really hoping to be really good and have at least some cover ratings. He really doesn't. He is a big run stuffing linebacker. 6'1", 254, 22 years old out of Texas A&M. Physical player who delivers bone-crushing hits. Savvy defender with the ball in the air. So maybe he could get some picks, but that's if he's even in the range of his coverage. Has a motor that runs through the whistle, often looks to strip or rip the ball from the runners, but lacks discipline to avoid penalties. So some good, some bad. 40-yard is honestly pretty good for a run stopper with a lot of acceleration, speed, has the strength as well. Like as an athlete, he's really good. And he has some really good ratings as well, with awareness and play rec both being A's. B block shedding, B finesse moves, hit power, impact block, and tackle. But we really were trying to find someone who could help us cover. And he has C zone and D man. He matches what we have with a lot of the older guys that we have at the linebacker spot already, as well as some of the younger guys. I still think we go with him and hope that he has a high development rating, or a higher development, I don't even know, trait? Yeah, development trait. Like a superstar would be nice. The other guy, he's an edge rusher, so we're not finding any coverage help at linebacker, and we unfortunately did not get the last 5% of Randy Lennon. He's a lot smaller than the other guys, at least in height-wise, about 6 inches, 5 to 6 inches, being 5'9", about tied with the weight, though, of the highest, with 202, 21 years old, though. He also struggles to find the ball in the air. Has a high motor, though, rips the ball out, but he lacks discipline. So there's some really good and some really bad with these guys. There's trade-offs. Decent speed, pretty decent 3-cone, 20-yard, a little iffy, but he could jump and he's pretty strong. Now he also could potentially be a good slot corner with A block shedding, also has A catching and awareness. B press, B zone, C man coverage, but C tackle. So like each of these guys are slightly different. I still think that my list would go Christian Drummond, Randy Lennon, and then Carlos Holt. So at least we have 3 options, just in case one of them goes earlier than we expect. Now, when it comes to the mock draft, obviously that corner is probably going to be our number 1 guy that we want to go after. So I want to see where they're mocking him to go to. And they expect him down at 15 going to the Patriots. So we could probably, because unfortunately Madden is pretty on point with these. Like these players are going, besides our pick, where they're going. They actually do have us taking Craig Richards with the first overall pick. So he might be a good quarterback. I don't think I want to take him with I'm definitely not taking him with our first pick. But we do know that these are pretty spot on when it comes to where they're going to go. So if we could trade down, get some future picks, and maybe to about the 10th overall pick, I think would be pretty good. And like I mentioned, we have the first overall pick here in the 2023 NFL Draft. I will be looking to trade it away. So we could drop to the 23rd pick, too far. Seahawks just dropped 3 spots and pick up an extra 3rd this year and a 7 next year. We have a lot of picks this year. I think we'll be fine. Drop down to 14 with the Ravens, 13 with the Raiders. Just drop out entirely. Jaguars, get out of here. Drop down to the 9th pick, and we pick up a 2nd this year. So we would have 3 seconds and a 2024 6th round pick. That's interesting with the Falcons. Drop down to 19 with the Eagles, 12th with the Dolphins, or the 22nd with the Colts. I think we'd go with the Falcons here. We don't need a lot of extra picks, but I'm going to go with it. We'll trade away the first overall pick with the Falcons, and we'll go one by one and see where some of these guys end up going. And there is one cornerback who is expected to go before Christian Drummond, so if we see James Fox go, we could always try to trade back up. But like I said, we do have 3 targets, so we'll just go to our 9th pick, and hopefully he's still there. He is my number 1 target, as Blair Jones, an outside linebacker from South Carolina, goes to the Falcons. That's who they traded up for. We'll see at the end if he's actually any good. Taylor McLean, right end out of Georgia Tech, goes next to the Bears. A quarterback, Kyle Freeman from North Dakota, goes to the Bills. Seahawks at 4, they go with Jamal Aldridge. They were trying to trade up to the first pick, so maybe that other linebacker was someone that should have been traded up for. Next pick, Cassius Skinner. Also the Seahawks, they had 2 back-to-back in the top 5. Heck of some picks for sure. Commanders, they go Cordell Footy? I'm not sure. Left tackle out of USF. The Jaguars, they go left end Tyler Henning out of Stanford. Cardinals go DT Calvin Benedict out of Iowa State. And now we're on the board. Let's do not skip. Let's actually make our selection. That could have been bad. It probably would have went with that quarterback because I think he's at the top of our board just because it was based off of when we chose the players and we just went down the list. But we know where we're going. Christian Drummond, he seems to be the best available. And I mean, for us at least. Potentially Fox could be better. I just think he has the best overall skill set. Be catching, has a pretty... He does have the... It's a good balance. It's a good balance. We might still possibly get another corner, which would be Lennon, I believe. I was... In my head, I think I thought that he had the B zone coverage, which, if we go over to our favorites, we know Lennon has the B's and A's, but I think some of the non-corner attributes, you know, the intangibles, I think we're better with Christian Drummond. So before I psych myself out, we're just going to go with it. We're just going to go with Christian Drummond, our first pick. And he's a hidden dev, 95 speed, 90 change of direction with 95 excel. We know we at least have an athlete who's going to be at least a star dev. I'm happy with it. I'm happy with it. And we pick again in 7 spots. We could potentially go 2 corners early. We did have 2 rookie corners playing this season, and they played pretty well. But also we still gave up about 30 points a game. So, I don't know. Let's get along here. And we'll see what we end up doing. James Fox goes to the Detroit Lions. I almost said he went to Maryland. That's where he played college. Oscar Clay, defensive tackle, goes to the Dolphins. Raiders, they go with a linebacker, Brian LaRubio. The Ravens at 14, they go with another corner, Britton Rainey. Patriots, and this was the spot that they expected our corner to go to. They go with Darius Weatherby. The Cowboys, a pick before us, they go with Morgan Lewis out of Clemson. Now, before we move forward with possibly going with another one of the corners, Daniel Mathis is a round 1, projected round 2 to 3. We do have the first pick in the second round, so potentially he might still be there. I just want to check before we do anything how far away Daniel Mathis is. And they don't have him going for about another round, which would be well after the first round pick. So I think we would be safe with taking Daniel Mathis then. So I think we do need to go corner. It's just deciding which corner we want to go with. Obviously, we already know Carlos Holt is a round 1. He has the height a little bit on the lighter side. He has B zone and B press, but D man coverage. Randy Lennon has the B zone, B press, C man coverage, so better there, and also A catching, so better there as well. He's shorter, but a little bit stockier. I think they have about the same speed rating, or probably about the same speed rating, the same 40-yard dash roughly. I mean, just across the board, he is a really good athlete, even has some strength. I think we go with Randy Lennon. He also has A block shedding, A awareness. I think this would be the best pick to go with. Our defense struggled last year. Doesn't mean I don't want any of our last starting corners to no longer be starting. But I think this is the best spot for us to go in. And it's another hidden dev. 92 speed, 93 acceleration with 87 change of direction, but 90 jumping. 2 back-to-back hidden dev corners. So now I feel pretty comfortable that our linebacker will be there at the 33rd overall pick. So I'm going to start moving down. If he ends up going, I'll let you know. And no, he has not gone. So with the first pick in the second round of the 2023 NFL draft, we will be going after our linebacker. I know he does not provide the coverage ability, at least from what it seems like, but he is best on the board, the entire board. We know he's a round 1 talent, so he better be really good at stopping the run, because Daniel Mathis is selected, and he's just a normal dev. Little bad there. I was hoping he would be another hidden dev, at least a star, but 85 speed, 88 acceleration, 86 agility, with some pretty good strength and jumping. We'll see how well he is in the coverage, but we know he should be pretty good stopping the run. And we pick again in about 7 or 8 picks. So let's just jump on over to then. And I'm thinking we go with the quarterback, mostly because I know that's probably the next best player available for us. And with the 9th pick in the second round, we will be going Craig Richards. Like I said, I just think he's the best possible player we could take at this point. So we'll bring him in, and he is a normal dev, but he has 96 throw power. That is crazy. 68 speed, honestly, probably a little bit better than I was thinking. With 81 acceleration, not going to really escape the pocket, but he has a cannon of an arm. Now we no longer have any round 1 projected, round 2 projected. We're late in the second round, the 28th pick. Now, technically, I don't think he's going to be very good. Daniel Saunders here, the strong safety. But he's at least projected around 3 to 4, pretty close to what we have. So I think we end up taking him. We see how good he ends up being. Doesn't have a lot of speed, but he has some strength, some acceleration, agility, can jump. In terms of hit power, it's an A. Do we know tackling by chance? Is a B to a D? Not quite sure. What is his size by chance? Does he really like two? Okay, I was hoping for at least 220 to maybe move to linebacker. We'll go with Daniel Saunders. We'll see how good he ends up being. And he's a hidden dev. Okay, well, that is at least worth it. 85 speed, 85 agility, 84 acceleration, and change of direction with 80 jumping, 74 strength. We'll see where best we could fit him. And now in the third round, we still have quite a lot of picks, which is fine because there's a lot of available players. I don't think we're going to be getting a lot of starters. There might be practice squad players from here on out, but we still have 8 picks left. And on our board, we have 30 available players. So let's just run through these. Andrew Ali is a potential guy. We have the tight ends as well. Nick Cousins, we assumed would probably be the best. Maybe we end up taking him fairly soon. I don't think we take him here unless there's just no one else to really go after. There's some day 3 offensive linemen, which I'm sure we'll pick up at some point. A day 3 DT, I would want to take a little bit later. Another day 3 linebacker, but definitely no cover ratings and not great in block shedding. So we might just maybe not take him at all. And yeah, so not a whole lot after the running back. So why not? Andrew Ali in the 3rd round. Definitely overdrafting some of these players, but he had some intriguing ratings. So let's pick up Andrew Ali, a normal dev with 87 speed, 77 strength, 89 acceleration, and 86 agility. And now midway through the 3rd, I think we go ahead and take Nick Cousins here, just because we know that there's a potential spot that he could play for us, rather than just drafting a whole bunch of bottom of the roster kind of guys. I don't think he's going to be top end talent. Maybe would be tight end 2 this year, maybe tight end 3, let him develop a little bit. but we'll bring in Nick Cousins. He's a normal dev with 80 speed, 83 acceleration, 84 agility. I mean, some pretty decent ratings there. 23 years old, we'll see how well he could do. Now I'm thinking we go with one of these offensive linemen, Rashad Ellison. He at least has some decent ranges on him. 5'6", 297, 23 years old. Won't get flagged much. Strength? Not too bad. At least above 30, that's what I look for. Run block finesse is not too great, but pass block power is pretty good. Has A potential across the board with the pass blocking. I mean, he's going to be a developmental guy for sure, but we'll draft him here a little bit earlier than we probably should. 86 strength, 77 acceleration with 65 speed. And the other center also still there. We'll take a look at him as well. Deontrez Turner, 6'2", 295, 22 years old out of Texas A&M. Same notes as the previous guy we picked up, with a bit less strength, so not fantastic there. Like I said, I look for 30, but he does have A pass block, A lead block, B pass block power. Might not be as good as the previous guy, but at least a developmental guy. And with them not having much in terms of run blocking, I would think moving him out to tackle would be a better spot. 80 strength, 77 acceleration, 63 speed. And with one of our few remaining projected draftable guys, we'll take a look at the DT, Donnell Moore here. 6'1", 288, I would assume probably more on the outside. Physical player with bone-crushing hits. Uses a spin move. Arm over as well. Will utilize power and leverage to bull rush. Has a motor that runs through the whistle. Often looks to run the ball out. Shows good discipline. I mean, the player notes are really good. He's not very fast. Not extremely strong. Will be a depth guy for sure. Has F play rec and D block shedding, but B finesse moves. It's an interesting player, but we'll go ahead. We'll bring him in as a developmental guy with normal dev, 83 strength, 67 speed with 81 acceleration. Looks like he'll have to stay on the inside. I'm assuming he might already be a candidate for the practice squad. And towards the end of the 5th round here, I think we might go with another tight end strictly as a developmental guy in Daryl Blackwell, 6'5", 273, 22 years old out of North Texas. Has some things he needs to work on. He has some decent speed with some pretty good strength as well. However, that doesn't translate to run blocking, which is a D. Has some catching skills, definitely still needs to work on some. He's an injury risk. But like I said, might be a developmental practice squad kind of player or bottom of the roster. So we'll go ahead and bring him in. Normal dev with 81 speed, 78 strength, 87 acceleration though is pretty nice. And with 2 picks remaining, how many more guys do we have on the board here? We still have 20, but I assume most of them besides the cornerback here, Stephen Ridley, who has F zone coverage, so isn't really a possible guy here for me. Looks like all of them are potential undrafteds. And if we're going to be going with guys who may potentially have something decent, may potentially not, Brennan Belfort at DT, 6'5", 273, 22 years old, out of Texas A&M. He has at least a little bit of some speed going there with some pretty good acceleration. Strength isn't fantastic, but I'm definitely thinking edge rush with A to C finesse moves. Everything else is pretty bad. Probably a practice squad guy, but we're going to go ahead and bring him in. He's a hidden dev as well, 81 speed, 80 strength, 84 acceleration. Maybe he's a little bit better than a practice squad. And we will cap it off with Cam Macy. Out of Texas Tech, 6'2", 290, listed at DT. We'll see where he best fits. Probably DT with a sub 540, but he has some okay strength, a little bit of some acceleration and agility mixed in there. The skill set might be interesting. B finesse moves, B to D block shed. The rest of it definitely needs some development, but we're going to take a chance on Macy. And he's a normal dev with 81 strength, 65 speed, 79 acceleration, maybe a practice squad guy. But now, what we've all been waiting for, how good were at least our first 3 draft picks? It's time to find out. And the first 3 are not too bad. The two corners I was looking at very close overall. Let's run through each of these guys, see what they're best at and what they need some work on. Christian Drummond, a hidden dev corner, coming out of Rice, 6'3", 205, 22 years old. With a boost from our coaches up to a 77, 95 speed, 72 man and 71 zone with 77 press. It's not bad. I think starting in the slot, he'll do pretty well. Do we see block shed in here anywhere? Does have 63 tackles, so we know that's good. And 62 block shed. He could definitely and probably will be starting in the slot for us this upcoming season. Randy Lennon has a -1 morale hitting him right now, but 5'9", 202, 21 years old, also out of Rice. So we brought in the teammates, a hidden dev once again. His ratings, very similar, 92 speed, which we saw, a actual 71 man with 75 zone, 77 press with the boost from the coaches, 75 catching. Tackle is a little bit lower at a 57, block shed is a 60, so these two can both play in the slot for sure. We'll see what our cornerbacks end up looking like, but I think a massive improvement for sure, bringing in some really good young talent. Now for Daniel Mathis, who has some weird stuff happening with his hair, but we all know Madden's broken. 6'1", 254, 22 years old, out of Texas A&M. Has a lot of speed, pretty good block shedding, up to a 74 to start off with a 75 awareness, and 64 zone coverage. Actually is not bad. That's about what we were working with last season, so he'll start off pretty well there. Is 50 man coverage. We knew that wasn't going to be very good, but the zone coverage is doable. So Daniel Mathis is a starter for us for sure, and honestly isn't that much lower than what we traded Jordan Hicks, who was a 79. We currently have a boost with Mathis up to a 77. So I think in all, that worked out very well for us. Then from then on, things can get a little bit weird. Let's see, what is we drafted Rashawn Ellison, that is a 75 overall in the 4th round. A potential starter at center. Okay, I like it. The lowest overall was the last guy we drafted at a 59. We actually drafted some guys late that are higher overall than I would have expected. Let's try to run through these guys. Craig Richards, the developmental quarterback, 66, will be our second best quarterback. Like we knew, cannon of an arm, 79 deep, 76 deep, 79 short, but medium. He really struggles at, which is an interesting style quarterback. I guess that makes sense with his traits, because it said that if he doesn't see something opening up immediately, he'll check down. So he's either going deep or he's checking down. So yeah, makes sense. And acceleration, speed, not bad for a pocket quarterback. I think he'll be just fine as our backup. Don't know if he would really ever develop enough to take over for Tannehill, at least in a positive way for us, but we'll see. What about the strong safety we brought in? And Daniel Saunders, a hidden dev that was a surprise for sure. With 85 speed, 64 zone coverage, 72 tackling. Do we see block shed 65? Potential guy to possibly play as a linebacker. I don't know if he would really go up or down in ratings much, and he is on the smaller side, being 206, so we'll keep him at safety for now, and will be depth. We then took a shot on Andrew Ali, 67 with the -2 morale, so he's actually a 69 overall running back with some speed, acceleration, that's not too bad, trucking at 84. We could really build him in whatever direction you want to go with. I think overall, that's a pretty good backup guy for us, so I'm happy with it. In fact, do you have any good run blocking by chance? No, 24. Okay. So he's not going to be a fullback. Next up, we went with Nick Cousins, the tight end. How do your ratings look? 62 run block, 79 catching. These aren't bad. I think we might put him out there as our second tight end over Ricky Seals and try to develop Nick Cousins a little bit. We've had some really good tight ends in the mid to upper 60s range. I think back to the Ohio Only Challenge with Jeremy Ruckert, was a 3-year, 1,000-yard receiver. So you never know. He could be really good. Now Rashawn Ellison, the surprise pick here, with the boost from the coaches, a 76 overall. Dramatically struggles in the rushing department with 67 run block, 63 run block power, and 65 run block finesse. But if we need him to pass block, he can hold it down. So we'll move him out to a tackle spot. I'm going to say probably left tackle, and we'll just develop him there. Not going to start anytime soon with how bad the run blocking ratings are, but as a guy coming off the bench on the edge for us, I mean, solid. We then drafted another center in Turner. Now, what does he look like? Pretty similar, but a step down, but still pass blocking guy. Again, we'll move out to a tackle spot, maybe send to the practice squad for the first year, let him develop there. And going back over to the defensive line, Donnell Moore here, listed as a DT, will probably stay there with a lack of speed and just lack of about everything overall. Practice squad potential cut kind of guy. Bit disappointing. And for our second tight end, we drafted Darrell Blackwell. How are you looking? Really not much of a run blocker, has potential down the field. Kind of a developmental Ricky Seals kind of guy. Maybe he'll be practice squad year 1. Or maybe we just go ahead and cut Seals and we rock with 2 rookies and Swain. And now Brennan Belfort, the late round hidden dev. What do you have for us? 80 finesse moves. With 81 speed, 84 strength, yeah, you're staying on roster. You're going to be towards the bottom of the depth chart, but someone you could really develop as a one-trick pony for sure. And our last guy we picked up was a 59 with the coaches moves up to a 60, Cam Macy or Massey. You need a lot of work, practice squad for sure. So overall, not too bad. We got a lot of young guys to try to develop and 3 starters. Potentially 4 if we were really in a crunch, we could start Rashawn Ellison, just not run the ball his way. He'll be a backup year 1, and if anyone surprisingly retires or doesn't want to re-sign with us, we at least have someone developing, but really happy with the first 3 picks. And speaking of roster, let's run through what we currently have. 74 of 75 players, so some of these guys will be cut by the next video you guys see, as I like to start off the next season at week 1 of the regular season. Ryan Tannehill will be our quarterback. Year 12, we'll see how long he'll stay. We're going to start developing Craig Richards. We brought in Kyle Allen, but now that we have Cole White, we might let Allen go. At running back, we have quite a few on here. Aaron Jones still with the team. Let me know if we should keep him or try to trade him for another big-time starter. There are definitely some guys we could try to bring in that would require some other trades depending on what our next draft class looks like. Will vary on what we end up doing with all of our picks, as well as some of the guys like Aaron Jones. Behind him, Jeff Wilson Jr., Isaiah Spiller, who we did sign in free agency, and Andrew Ali we drafted. Jet Anderson was on our practice squad last year. He joins the team this year, but may not make it to the final roster. Fullback Andrew Beck returns. And at receiver, Cortland Sutton for his first full year with the team. Devin Duvernay, who was solid number 2 for us. Josh Reynolds will be competing with a couple different guys. Eric Ezukanma, maybe I'm pronouncing that right, is one of the guys he will compete against. Most of these other guys are on the smaller side. Jalen Guyton could play on the outside. Potentially Danny Gray, a new guy that we signed. So we have some competition on the outside and a lot of receivers right now that will not make it to the final roster. Tight ends, Jeff Swaim and Ricky Seals-Jones return with the draftees of Nick Cousins and Darrell Blackwell. Left tackle Jake Matthews returns on a pretty big deal, but we had to overpay him to keep him on the team. Eric McCoy will continue to start at left guard. I want to say he was our best in terms of pass blocker for us last year. Connor Williams will keep the start at center. We drafted Rashawn Ellison. Also have Trey Hopkins depth that we might now be able to cut just to let Ellison continue to grow. Hopkins is also 31. Right guard Will Hernandez will continue his starting role. And Terrence Steele stays with the team. Kevin Beecham Jr., 34 years old. We may keep him. I don't know. We'll probably end up getting rid of some of these older offensive line to let the younger guys develop. Left end Ed Oliver, we'll see what he does in his first full year with the squad next season. Okafor will probably end up being cut as he's 32. We'll let Malcolm Brown stick with the squad, and Bradley King can try to develop a little bit more. At right end, Charles Amenahu will probably stick with that starting spot. He has some better overall ratings than Logan Hall, but I would like to get Hall out there. He's made some plays when given the chance. At DT, Poona Ford and Andrew Billings will be our main guys. Daquan Graham made some plays when he had the ability. We brought in Brennan Belfort, and that'll probably be the bottom of the list, with the rest of the guys either being cut or moved to the practice squad. Left outside linebacker would be Matthew Adams, David Mayo, and Wallow, and then he needs to be moved to an edge spot. Middle linebacker, we'll see the start of Daniel Mathis, which may mean that Landon Roberts gets cut as we try to develop maybe some of these younger guys, or we cut some of the younger guys because they're not exactly what we're looking for at middle linebacker, but we needed some depth. Terrell Bernard, we'll see how well he does in his sophomore year. Was really good his rookie year. Grant Stewart returns to back him up. And at corner, Tariq Woolen, who I believe had 3 interceptions last year, up to an 82. He'll definitely get a start on the outside. And it'll be a toss-up of who gets a start on the other outside spot or in the nickel, as we have Christian Drummond, who we drafted our first overall pick, Kader Kohu, who started last year. He also, I think, had 3 picks. And we also drafted Randy Lennon. Past them, we'll probably keep Isaiah Johnson, and that would be our 5th guy. So past them, practice squad or cut for most of these guys. Free safety Quandre Diggs back for his 9th season. We have Henry Black backing up. Armani Watts will probably get cut. We'll let Ardarius Washington stick with the team and develop further. Strong safety Donovan Wilson was really good for us last year, quietly, but still pretty good. And we'll have the rookie Daniel Saunders progressing, hopefully, behind him. Kicker Justin Tucker back for his 12th season. And Michael Dixon will stick with the team after coming back in free agency. And next season, we still have 2 first-round picks, a 2nd-round pick, 2 thirds, 2 fourths, a 5th, 6th, and 3 sevenths. So a lot of picks still remain. We'll see how good that draft class is at the beginning of next episode. So make sure you guys are hitting that subscription button to not only see, well, that next draft class, but how good we do in this next season. We brought in some new guys. For the most part, I think a majority of the starters will be the same with a couple tweaks, and hopefully that'll kind of push us over the edge, keep some of those 30-plus points given up on defense away, maybe some more points on offense, try to get a few more wins as we only got 4 last year. So, like I said, make sure you're subscribing if you haven't already. Tick that bell icon to be notified of when these videos go live. This series posted every Wednesday and Saturday, with my more traditional kind of style franchise with the Commanders replacement squad posted every Monday and Thursday. So 4 videos a week. There'll be more if we get some more subscribers. So make sure you guys hit that button. And until next time, we'll see you guys later. Bye.